Hello, everybody. Welcome to the IncGamers Podcast. It's the podcast that wishes it could be grossly incandescent. I'm Peter Parrish. I am here with Paul Younger. Hello to you, Paul, drinking your tea.
Good evening.
Hello. Tim McDonald, you're here too. Hello. Oh no, you've got no voice.
Maybe that's a good thing.
It's going to be disappointing when I'm asking him stuff, though.
Yeah.
Tim, say some more things.
Come on, Tim.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, there we
go. There we go.
Praise the sun.
Praise the sun, indeed. We can hear you again. This is good. Look, I'm really organised this week. I've got the podcast agenda on like a little post-it note there. There we go. That's good. Excellent. So I know everything that's going to happen here with this show. Paul, Reaper of Souls came out. I bet you want to talk loads more about Reaper of Souls.
Reaper of Souls!
You haven't done that enough for like Diablo IncGamers, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's busy night last night. Game went live at midnight in all the different regions, so I guess the Aussies got it first, and then the Asian folk, and then the Europeans got it, and then the Americans came in last. So they had a launch event last night in LA, and there was a few bits and pieces revealed, including the confirmation that we are now getting ladders, which is always good. Oh God, bloody cats again.
Yeah, cats.
What's wrong with you?
When you say ladders, Paul, it's not ladders in like the normal video game sense of things to climb up to get to different...
No, but interestingly enough, funnily enough, they've been actually teasing this announcement with putting pictures of their developers in front of ladders, real ladders, in warehouses and things.
Subtle.
Which was pretty inane, but yeah, and we have a thing called tiered rifts as well, which is something we didn't know about, which is effectively almost like time challenges through the rift levels, which are new in Reaper of Souls. So there were two things that are coming. There'll be additional content that is not coming in the next patch, but what they say in the first major content patch. So that's going to be 2 months away. But the good news is ladders are coming, and they'll be played out over specific seasons, which I'm guessing throughout the year, maybe 3 months or 2 months or whatever. They haven't really specified exactly what kind of gear you're going to get. Maybe, we don't know if they're going to make special legendary items for ladders, or there'll be cosmetic things or anything like that. So we're still a little bit in the dark. We expect to have a bit more news on that in the next few days or so, or maybe in the next week. Exciting stuff.
Forgive my ignorance, but what is a ladder in this context? Because I have absolutely no idea.
Well, basically, just you level. It's like a leveling ladder. So, who does what after throughout a season, if you like. We actually ran something on it because Blizzard didn't actually put this in the original game, and it was really, really popular in Diablo 2. We had to cobble together a system on IncGamers actually, which was kind of automated, where you put your battle tag in and we'd run it over 3 months. So we've actually been doing this for Diablo for the last year and a half, but we've never... One of the attractions of the original ladders in Diablo 2 was obviously the special items that you got. Obviously we could never do anything like that, but it was... We tried to come up with something as best we could for the community, but thankfully Blizzard have listened, and we are going to get ladders. We just don't know really in what form yet.
Okay. Or maybe we'll talk a bit more about the actual expansion gamey side of Reaper of Souls in what we've been playing a bit later on, because I imagine you have been playing it. I think it's only fair, since you've talked about Diablo, that Tim can talk about Dota 2. Valve did a Dota 2 documentary, and lots of people watched it. Isn't that great?
It was quite good, yeah. It worked out all right, apparently. They how many people was it that watched it, did they say?
5.5 million. Yeah, 5.5 million over the weekend, which they were kind of comparing to other documentaries, which I thought was a bit unfair, because if I go and make a documentary, it doesn't get released on Steam, with its like 65 million users. But there we go. Still a good, good viewing total.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I watched it actually. I watched it after Tim had written his review piece on it, which I really enjoyed. I was kind of... it kind of didn't bring anything new to the table for me. as far as what I knew about the esports scene, and so I guess a lot of people who've watched it would probably have been following Dota or esports or something to some extent. And as Tim quite rightly pointed out, it was kind of more about the individuals themselves and their backgrounds and bits and pieces. But I kind of felt it kind of skimmed over that a little bit. You know, how much they trained, how much they played, you know, what they had to actually do to get to the level they were currently at. I kind of felt it kind of missed all that out.
Well, it is only an hour and 15 long, I guess. I mean, maybe.
But
if you ignore the end credits, it's only like 70 minutes, I think, total.
I mean, if you were an aspiring esports player, I certainly wouldn't watch that to think, oh, how can I get better or anything like that, or what do I need to actually do? What do I have to sacrifice in my life to actually be really good at this? How much time am I going to have to spend to be at the top of my game? I mean, that's probably why Tim's parents actually quite enjoyed it, because it kind of gave you a basic overview of what was involved.
Yep.
Do you agree, Tim? They could have gone more in depth in places, or I mean, obviously everything can always potentially go more in depth in places, but
yeah, I mean, it easily could have gone more in depth. I mean, they could have made it a documentary that was aimed squarely at Dota fans. A documentary that was talking exclusively about esports or whatever, but they didn't. I think they managed to find a balance where they managed to take what is a fairly, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, a fairly nerdy topic, and they've made it pretty entertaining for a general audience. I think they worked it quite well in terms of actually managing to make it mass entertainment that is at least vaguely educational.
I'd agree.
What do you think is their intent with this documentary? Do you think they're going to get into making other documentaries? Is it kind of a I don't know, not an advert for Dota 2, but more spreading the Dota 2 message?
Yeah, I kind of saw it as a bit of a promotional tool, really, which is kind of weird if you're releasing it on Steam, because most people who are on Steam are going to know what Dota 2 is anyway. But I kind of felt it was a bit of a promotional tool, really.
I will say I haven't watched it all yet. I still play Dark Souls 2 instead of watching stuff in the evenings. Sorry. I mean, the parts I have watched, which is not that much, was kind of going on about how amazing Dota is for sort of teamwork and collective spirit, and bringing people together. And it's like, that's not the Dota 2 I know. It's not good for bringing people together and team spirit. And
it's very good for making you hate people you've known for many years, though.
Yeah, and I totally understand, of course, why they're not going into that area. And I'm sure the international scene is a lot, while obviously very competitive, is a lot nicer in that regard. I don't know. Do they have rules? Like, if you start tossing around racial slurs at the international, do you get chucked out?
I don't know. I'll try to find out. What I'll do is I will keep playing
Join
Dota.
The international.
Yeah.
Until I'm able to compete in the international. And
this isn't a good plan.
Well, what I found quite funny was that you have two teams and they're kind of separated by a piece of glass in the video. You know, why is no one behind the glass going?
People listening, Paul is making the jerking off and flipping people off motions there.
Make your opponents angry.
Well, again, angry, yeah. Again, would that get you thrown out? Gamesmanship, is that not?
Or even do this at the glass.
Twirling your nipples.
Yeah, twirling your nipples. Yeah.
Possibly, it's kind of hard to say. There was at the recent international, at the International 3, there was a sort of a match, friendly, if you like. It was kind of an all-stars match where the people who bought the compendiums pretty much got to choose two teams who would play against each other. And that happened, and that was pretty full of, shall we say, friendly joshing, and it was absolutely not taken even remotely seriously. To the extent that when they were picking heroes, you would have one of them, for from one team would walk into the booth of the others and take control of a mouse and pick something for them. So I don't know. I would wager that there are a degree of rules on sort of sportsmanship or gamesmanship, as you put it.
Yeah, whatever.
But on the other hand, I do wonder quite how in-depth said rules are.
Yeah. I mean, is that true then? I'm just kind of assuming that during the international you don't have people casting aspersions on one another quite so much as they do in the regular.
Most part,
is that true? Yeah.
That is pretty true. Yeah. You will occasionally see something being said between the teams, but it's usually in a fairly joking light.
Sure. Well, yeah, you don't want to prevent them from saying anything to one another. That would be a bit censorious and unnecessary, I'm sure. Okay. Well, good. Yeah. Your review of that documentary is up on IncGamers.com, and it comes approved by your parents as well. So yeah, very much general audience viewing. This piece. Well, okay. So you've done Diablo, you've done Dota 2. I'm going to talk about Obsidian because that's
I thought you were going to talk about Dark Souls, but okay.
I can always talk about Dark Souls too.
Dark Souls every week. It's getting worse than bloody Star Citizen or Defiance.
Hey, Reaper of Souls is only the second best thing with souls in the name out at the moment in the world of video games, let me tell you.
Well, you've got to bear in mind that while you can say we're getting as bad as Star Citizen with stuff like this, Dark Souls 2 actually exists.
It's out. I've been playing it and it's really good. Anyway, Obsidian. I love Obsidian games. They're great at RPGs and all that choice and consequence business. I was delighted to hear they were going to announce a secret project at Game Developer Conference this past week. And they did. And it's an online tank MMO playing to all of Obsidian's strengths there. Man, I was quite... I mean, luckily they're making Pillars They're making a game called Pillars of Eternity, which I can say when I concentrate hard enough, which is good, because I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, the tank MMO smacked a little bit of paying the bills, I have to say. Maybe they'll make it really good.
It's it's just like, well, we've seen what World of Tanks have done. We've seen what War Thunder's doing. Hey, it's basically going up on a Russian mail.ru portal. They've kind of looked at it and thought, oh, look, what are our Russian counterparts doing? I know, let's make tanks. Tanks will be good. Who can we get to? Oh, Obsidian need to pay the bills. They'll make a tank thing.
I think we discussed this a little bit last week, and we sort of when this news came out, and we decided that actually it's most likely that they're just saying it's a tank MMO, and actually you just kind of play it once, and from then on, after that time, it's just an RPG in which you're playing a veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder.
This is my big hope, yes.
Yeah.
And that, it blossoms into a beautiful role-playing game full of amazing dialogue.
Well, consequences. I think they should have text choices in the tank cockpits. Do you load your shell now? Do you load your shell in 5 minutes?
Or at least a dialogue wheel with your co-tank person, the gunner or the driver or the tank commander or something. Maybe you can romance them. I know that's BioWare.
You can only communicate with the other players using a dialogue wheel.
So do you think
there are romance options?
Do you think at the press conference then they'll just show the sexy scenes with Dragon Age?
Yeah, sexy scenes in it.
Two tanks humping.
That's my freaking phone, but I can't reach it. Who keeps texting me during podcasts?
Is it your wife?
It is my wife. Every time.
Tell your wife.
My wife.
She's there. She knows I'm doing a podcast. Well, she knows I'm always doing one on Tuesday, and she's like, "Well, when's the time?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Sometimes it's the morning, sometimes it's the afternoon." So it's fair enough, really.
I don't know. I think that you should say something terrible to your wife on my behalf.
I'm not going to, because she's lovely. Anyway, Obsidian tank MMOs. I'm not terribly excited by that, unless it does become the post-traumatic stress RPG that we've all been waiting for, really, not just me.
MMORPG PTSD.
What? Oh, you cut out during some of those letters, Tim. Sorry.
Well, Tim's just
said MMORPG PTSD.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have once again on the IncGamers invented a new genre of video games.
Yay! Excellent. Indeed. Also announced this week was apparently, this will surprise everyone, Ubisoft are making another Assassin's Creed game, everyone.
What a surprise!
Quite shocking news. But they've finally got around to the French Revolution one that they've been kind of teasing and talking about for a while-ish. It's sort of been rumoured for a while, I think, the French Revolution setting. Maybe I just imagined that. But anyway, it's happening now. Assassin's Creed Unity. They were going to announce it later, but then stuff started leaking out about it, screenshots and whatnot. So they went, "Oh, okay, have a trailer. There you go." There's quite a bizarre story behind this as well. There's an old NeoGAF thread where a guy was on a plane and said he was playing, I think, Assassin's Creed Liberation or something on his Vita. And he was sat next to a guy who's like, "Oh, you like Assassin's Creed, do you? Well, I actually work on some of that stuff. Hey, let me show you all this stuff about the French Revolution one that's coming out." And at the time, everyone was like, "Come on, what kind of bullshit is this? You met some dude on a plane." And this all turned out to be true, which is fantastic. So this is some PR guy who was bored, going, "Oh, whatever, I'm just going to tell you everything about this game."
I need to pay more attention to what my fellow passengers are doing on aircraft, obviously.
I know, we might get this really hot scoop. just be really obvious about playing a video game in front of people.
You could sit down and just have a sheet of questions going, "Hello, do you work for a video games company?
Are you working on anything big right now? Is it coming to the PC? Would you like to tell me everything about it and show me some screenshots? Actually, do you have some screenshots on a USB or something? Maybe you could leave it with me. That would be really helpful." So
and then when he goes off to the toilet, just rifle through his bags anyway.
Yeah. That's a bit of a betrayal of trust, Paul, after he's already shared so much with you.
Well, we're not lovers or anything,
You're not going to get any more scoops on planes doing that. You'll get a reputation for rifling through the bags when they're away in the toilets. So yeah, we don't know much else about this really, other than the French Revolution setting and a slightly unconvincing trailer which pretended to be in-game, but I have my doubts, honestly.
Yeah, if that was in-game, then it's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's not though, is it?
Kind of doubt it.
There's no way.
I just really hope that this is actually a next-gen Assassin's Creed in terms of gameplay and not just in terms of graphics, because...
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a bit bored of Assassin's Creed now.
Yeah, I mean, I felt Black Flag had enough going for it that I enjoyed it. But even while enjoying it, I was thinking, man, some of this is getting a bit clunky and ropey these days. I kind of hope they don't do... And another mission where, oh, there's some dudes talking, well, why don't you follow them? Because that's a good mission to do over and over again. Yeah, and I don't know, they were moving in the right direction with the collectible stuff, sometimes being of worth with the sea shanties and stuff, but some of the animus, the sort of animus fragments, they were a waste of time to collect. There was no point getting those. Yeah, well, what do you reckon they could do those, Tim? What should they do? No more tailing missions, though.
Yeah, let's just say that I'm very glad that I'm not working on a next-gen Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's still popular and the mechanics still mostly work. It's just that it's been done so much now. It needs something that's actually new. It needs to be refined.
Yeah,
it's kind of just like COD, really, isn't it?
In a way, in the sense that it's sort of like, well, you know what you're getting, and it's kind of a little bit old. I like climbing up buildings in interesting historical locations. I think that's fine. I think that's all good. It's just, it's the mission structures that bother me most, which I guess are limited by the mechanics to an extent. But I don't know. They surely can come up with something. I I hope and pray that they can.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I would like to see kind of redefined. I like the basics of Assassin's Creed. I mean, like you say, climbing up buildings and so on is good.
Yep.
But, you know, I'd like to see the combat be changed up a bit, maybe. I mean, what's there works, but I've done it so often over the past 4 years. I'd like to see them sort of refine it, try something a bit new. I mean, that's just the thing. The mechanics that are there mostly work. They're maybe a little bit clunky, but I want to see something new.
I was thinking the other day about this old Amiga game that I played based on Robin Hood. That was kind of this semi-open world Robin Hood game, and I was thinking I really liked the structure of that because you didn't really have there weren't really sort of mission structures or anything. You were just kicked out of your castle, and now the sheriff's in charge. And then you would just kind of wander around the place and coming across merry men to recruit, intervening in guards, attacking people and stuff. And you would just kind of shape the world by what you were doing. I kind of would like an Assassin's Creed where you're in the city, stuff's going on. If you start fucking about with stuff, it will have consequences and react to you. I mean, that's incredibly vague and incredibly difficult to do, but that kind of thing is what I would really like. So that if you wander around the city and find a guard post or whatever, it doesn't go like, ooh, destroy this guard post now. You can just do it if you want, and then that post won't be there anymore, or you'll be rewarded for it in some fashion. I know
what you mean. I would like to see a game that is less deliberately linear. I mean, I've said in the past that open world games are still incredibly linear.
They're not. They're their potential to me. Maybe to just hardware limitations and coding limitations and whatnot. I don't know. Anyway, there we go. We've reinvented open world in a really vague fashion.
Yeah.
Hey. Later got funded on Kickstarter. Are we all ready to play Bear Simulator? Yeah, we've had Goat Simulator coming out pretty soon. Now we're going to play as a bear.
The best bear simulator there ever was Enviro Bear 2000.
That was a very good bear simulator, yes. That's when you were... Paul, did you not play that?
No, I did not play Enviro Bear 2000.
You can do. I think it's free. You're a bear stuck in a car. Trying to drive it, and being attacked by other woodland animals, I seem to recall.
It was fantastic. It's really hard. It's really hard to drive a car when you're a bear, I can tell you that much.
Was that a simulator game, though? I don't know any bears who drive cars.
It's a simulator. It's a simulator of what happens if a bear gets stuck in a car.
See, I suppose so. I suppose that's accurate.
Why has no one reversed this, right? And where you become a human simulator and you have to go into a river and catch fish with your hands.
What? So you're doing bear activities, but you are a human. Well, the video I kind of like that because he hasn't implemented the sort of all four legs on the ground movement system. So you're a bipedal bear in the video, so you are basically wandering around like a human with your paws up like this, which is quite silly. But the idea of a bear simulator game is also quite silly, so I suppose that fits. You thought this joke was getting a bit played. I talked to you yesterday. The whole X simulator. Do you think it's a bit old hat now doing simulator games?
Well, I think I don't know. It's all just very bizarre. The whole novelty will wear off.
It's funny you mention this.
Oh God!
I saw earlier today that there is a new bundle, Stars bundle, which is Extreme Sims 2, which includes Warehouse and Logistics Simulator.
I've seen that. You know, like that game has zombie DLC for it. Warehouse and Logistics. I'm not shitting you.
What I can only assume is the relatively new Tow Truck Simulator 2015.
Oh my God! Really?
I don't think the makers of these games understand the simple genius of Euro Truck Simulator, which was that it wasn't the fact that you were accurately simulating truck driving. It was just that you could gently drive around the roads of Europe while listening to music and podcasts. I think that's pretty much the reason why most people like it. It's sort of the state of mind that it puts you in, not so much that, I have to like use this release pedal to drop my trailer now, and I'm really feeling like a Euro truck driver or something. I don't know. I'm tired, okay. I'm in a different location now from usual of people watching the video. It's because I have to keep an eye on a cat who's sat over there who has some stitches in that I have to stop him from pulling out. So there you go.
How long are you going to have to do this, Peter?
About another week. He has to have them in for 2 whole bloody weeks.
Are you and your wife still kind of sleeping in shifts to look after him?
No, but now we're in. She has the bedroom. I sleep on the sofa, and because he kind of hangs around with me, and the Ara the cat kind of is more attached to my wife, so he goes off into the bedroom, and that way they're separate during the night as well, so they won't like fight or anything and aggravate his stitching.
Well, that's what your wife tells you, Peter.
Oh no! It's all becoming clear now.
I look forward to the development of this soap opera next week.
Yeah,
we've ended on a cliffhanger.
I'll let you know. It'll probably be like a day before he's getting his stitches out by next week, so that'll be exciting for everyone, won't it?
Yeah,
this is all very relevant in video games, isn't it?
Yeah, just don't check any text messages that day.
Well, the text message was actually related to the cat, but apparently he's allowed a little bit of exercise now because he's a few days in, so that's good. I can actually let him run around a little bit. Anyway, I don't know. Games? Who's been playing some games?
How do you stop a cat from running around? Have you just have his legs together or something?
This is the problem, yeah. They gave him his back and we're like, make sure he doesn't do any exercise for 2 weeks. He's a cat. What's wrong with you? He's not going to not do exercise.
Sellotape his legs together.
No, well, we've just made sure there isn't anything massively tall that he can jump on in his immediate vicinity. That's really the main thing. He can still run back and forwards like a maniac, and we can't stop him doing that.
That could be a game in itself. How to stop your cat running around.
It's really fucking hard. It's harder than Dark Souls 2.
Actually, considering how well Euro Truck Simulator did, I'd quite like to see House Cat Simulator, where all you basically do is wander around a house and sleep a bit.
Yeah.
Well, there is. I did play an indie game where you play as a cat who has to knock as many things off surfaces as possible. You're like a bedroom.
Yeah.
You're jumping on shelves, knocking books off bookcases, knocking pens off desks.
Yeah, you've got to do as much damage as you can before the owners get home. It gets really ridiculous when you start trying to push the car down the stairs, though.
Yeah, we have a phrase for that. We have a phrase for that in this house when they do that. When they just walk up to something and they go, we all say, "Oh, look, he's being a cat dick."
I thought you were going to have some really clever phrase.
No,
it's just an insult.
It's just a dickish thing to do. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. It's just like, there's something on the side.
Yeah. Okay, it's on the floor now.
And you're going to pick it up, human.
Anyway, gamey games. Paul, you played Reaper of Souls.
I did. I
finished it.
I cracked on, actually, as soon as it launched last night at midnight. I went in and played and finished it pretty quickly, actually. I was one of the few that didn't actually play the beta, so I didn't know what the content was. The beta didn't include the big end boss fight with Maltheo, so nobody saw that.
Spoiler, Paul.
Sorry.
Big end boss fight.
Everyone knows they're going to go and get him. I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay.
But so I didn't know how much of content was actually prior to that stopping point in the beta, whereas all the other guys did. So I was kind of going into it a bit fresher than the other members of the IncGamers crew. So so I timed it. I thought we'll see how long it takes to get through this, because this expansion is £32. So it's not that cheap. And I got right to the last boss fight in 4.5 hours, and that was doing probably about 50-60% of all the little extra side dungeons as well. So I didn't race through it. I had no intention of racing through it, and that was with a level 52 wizard. So it was taking my character from one of my characters from previous game, and I thought, well, that's a good start one to use. I'll take him through. And he actually, I did it on hard, which is probably not, it's not as hard as you can make it, but he fairly mashed through it. I mean, he kind of, he was fairly just hammering the shit out of everything, and everything was just exploding, and there was crap going off everywhere or whatever. So I was a little bit disappointed in the length of this Act 5. I do love it, though. I mean, the thing is, I love the environments. As they say themselves, they've made this more gothic. It's a bit more true to maybe what you would expect to see in the original Diablo 3. You know, there's old, going through the old town streets, and it's just really nicely done. And I love the visuals in Diablo 3. I think it just captures this atmosphere, and it keeps you wanting to play more. Which is hence the reason, actually, I didn't realise that I'd gone through it so quickly. I kind of didn't want it to end, which is good. I haven't actually done the last boss fight yet. I'm gonna do that with Ellie later. We're both at the kind of same bit, but to get to that point, it was about 4.5 hours. So this is a really tough one for me, because I'm probably going to review this, and it's £32, but there's a lot in it. With regards to changing the way the core game functions with the adventure mode. Obviously the Loot 2.0 stuff was put in recently, which improves the loot that drops, whatever, and that was really noticeable, actually, when I first started playing last night. The loot improvement, I was immediately finding stuff. I think in that 4.5 hour playthrough, I found 4 legendaries, which before you could just go forever and find bugger all, and you just got crap. Where I was finding much better stuff. Obviously now there's the enchanting and all the extra stuff that they've added in with it, and it's just a more complete game. I just don't know whether you kind of feel that you're paying for the stuff that maybe should have been in the original game in the first place, and the £32 for the extra content you're getting. There is obviously the Crusader class as well, which I haven't done, because you have to play that right the way through, from 1 through right to the end of the game. So there is that. There is obviously the new stuff that they've added in, adventure mode and the bounties and so on. But I just don't know, £32 for what it's there seems a little bit steep with me. I think I would have been happier if I was paying about £10 less for it. But it's Blizzard, the games are never cheap, and the games are always polished, and they're always, quality. So yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed it for the 4.5 hours that I've done, and it would make me go back and actually start playing it again, and it would certainly make me go back and start a new class and play through with him. So I guess if you think of all the hours you're going to get by taking on a Crusader, working through the game again, doing the adventure mode, obviously the ladders and stuff that we talked about, it's going to keep you playing. It is now becoming the Diablo 3, or it has become, or it will become in a couple of months or so, and the ladders are in the Diablo 3 that everybody kind of wanted 2 years ago. So it's good. I thoroughly enjoyed my play session last night, and I would, if you kind of turned off from Diablo 3 and you thought, oh, this game's really not up to much, I would seriously consider revisiting it. I think all the work that they've done in it is definitely been beneficial for the franchise as a whole, and I think players should get back in and get stuck back into playing it again. It's pretty good.
It sounded like you were going to ask something at one point of that, Tim. I don't know if you still are.
I was just going to say, is it fair to say that, considering the sort of multiple difficulty levels of Diablo and so on, that you had such an easy time going through the act, but you might not have such an easy time going through it next time?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically you just change it. I mean, I just had it on hard. I mean, that's kind of where I left off with that character, and I just carried on. But obviously you can ramp it right up. So there is always going to be a challenge. I guess for me, there's two types of players. There's people that enjoy the story and enjoy it. I mean, pretty much like you, Tim, enjoyed it for what it is. But there's the other type of player that is...
I didn't enjoy the story.
No, forget the story. But the story's bollocks. But you did enjoy the gameplay, and everything else about it was good, and it was a lovely experience playing through the game. But But there is the other side of it as well, where you're on the item hunt, you're looking for the loot, you know, you're looking, that's why you're going back in and putting the game back, playing the game again. So there's that type of player really wasn't catered for in the first game, whereas I think now they're getting to the stage where that player is, and it's kind of trying to get a bit more of their hardcore fans back to the series. And I think they've done that pretty successfully with this expansion. You've just got to pay the £32 to be able to do it. But if you're a fan of the series anyway, chances are you will buy this and you will play it, and then you'll go, actually, you know what, this is actually quite good now.
Yeah, fair enough. I have been playing Bioshock Infinite's Burial at Sea Part 2, which has been an interesting experience. It's basically is going to be Irrational's final release. Now, of course, that 2K are shutting that studio down. It not only... I'm going to avoid spoilers here, so it's going to be nice and vague. It not only concludes Bioshock Infinite, but kind of ties up the Bioshock series as a whole at the same time, almost to the extent that I have a slight suspicion that they've maybe not planned this in advance, but have made sure that if 2K were to try and make more Bioshock things, it would seem really even more incredibly lame than it would to begin with, because it's all so kind of concluded now. And I guess the big thing about this DLC, it's obviously Part 2, quite distinct from Part 1 in that you are now playing as Elizabeth, and it is much more kind of stealth-oriented, which it turns out Bioshock Infinite probably should have been to begin with, because it makes the combat a whole lot more enjoyable than it was throughout the first game and the first part of the DLC, because now it's quite... little bit of Thief-like, possibly more Dishonored-like.
No, it's not like Thief, because then it's terrible.
No, not that Thief. The good thieves. Not the recent one. No. So Elizabeth's main weapon is a crossbow. She can use guns as well, so you can still go around shooting everything, but it is very clearly tailored to have you playing from the shadows. She can also climb into vents, good old video game vents. It's not a stealth game without those. And yeah, there's fewer enemies. There's a lot more sort of picking your moment to kind of go past people or take one out with a kind of tranquilizer dart or maybe a gas dart. Distract them with noisemakers, which again is very much like the original Thief games. And it makes it a lot more tense, honestly, because in Bioshock Infinite you storm in there, set everyone on fire, throw crows at them, smack them around a bit. There's no tension in that really. None of the fights, unless you put it on the stupidly hard difficulty that makes everyone a bullet sponge, in which case it does become difficult, but only through tedium. Whereas now, there's a bit more. It seems like there's a bit more skill involved in the DLC and a bit more tension. And it's, I like stealth-oriented games anyway, so I'm obviously predisposed to like this direction. But I was pleased that the engine in the game kind of adapted pretty well to it, because obviously it's not a pure stealth game. But they've kind of added alert meters to the splicers, and they've made different surfaces. Noisy surfaces can attract them and stuff like that. You've got a new plasmid thing which can briefly let you see people kind of through walls if you're stood still, which is a bit sort of Eagle detective vision-y, but also quite handy. The audio proliferation is good, so you kind of know where everyone is, unlike the most recent Thief game where you had no fucking clue half the time. And so yeah, all that gameplay mechanic stuff is really, really good. Where they've kind of dropped the ball this time, unfortunately, is the story. You'll kind of probably have thought, okay, you're playing as Elizabeth, this presents a problem, because at the end of... can I sort of spoil the end of the first game? Well,
it's over a year.
Playing as Elizabeth presents a problem because she's kind of an all-powerful being at this point in the story. And the way they deal with that is basically just by hand-waving it away with some bullshit. Going, oh, whatever, she's human now. I don't know. We don't care. And this kind of... I don't know, that just kind of sets the tone for, like, oh, you're just going to pull Deus Ex Machiners out of thin air for this plot, are you? There's a lot of good moments in it and a lot of interesting stuff where you're seeing events of other games from different perspectives, which is all well and good, and that's cool, but the way they have to maneuver the pieces to make the story and the plot work just doesn't work for me. It really stretches the boundaries of credibility, even in a story that deals with multiple dimensions and parallel universes and stuff. It's like, I don't know, this doesn't stack up for me. It doesn't really work. I see what you're trying to do here, and I see that you're trying to conclude the whole Bioshock universe like this, and fair enough for doing that, but the leaps you have to take to make that work is a little bit fanfiction-y and a little bit unconvincing. But I was having a tremendously good time playing through it all, so definitely still worth getting. I mean, it's part of the season pass, so obviously if you've got one of those, you're going to play it anyway because it's part of that. So yeah, not. It concludes the Bioshock arc successfully. No. It can
slightly into spoiler territory here.
Okay, yeah. I'll just stop talking. It's mechanically good, story a bit dodgy, is what I would say.
Then how long is this? Because I mean, Aerialist Part 1 was about, what, 15 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yeah, once you knew what you were doing, it was literally about 20 minutes, yeah. No, this one is, partly because of the stealth gameplay, is longer, because obviously that dictates a slower pace. I took about 4.5 hours exploring a lot of different areas and going back and forth doing a bit of side questy stuff that's in there. So for me, perfectly fine and substantial. The last section of the game, you're not really doing much other than walking around and having things happen near you. But yeah, it's a reasonable and substantial length compared to the other one, unless you were to play it with guns, in which case you probably could blitz through it in a similarly quick way, I would imagine. But no, a lot better than the first in that respect, and mechanically better than the first one as well. It's nice to see more Rapture again in the Bioshock Infinite engine. That's all good. It's irrational, so you have spectacular art and sound design. That's pretty much a given. That's present and correct. They've written like some new plasmid jingles and some new songs and audio and bits and pieces, which they're the nice little touches that really make it a good experience, really, where you wander in a new area and you've got this Old Man Winter theme tune jingling away at you, which is good. So yeah, I mean, hell, if you've been on board with Bioshock Infinite and Bioshock from the start, you're going to be getting and playing this regardless. And fortunately, it's quite a good send-off. Not as good as it perhaps could have been, but still pretty good. So yeah, good stuff. Tim, you've played a good game this week, I've heard. Called... It starts with Deus Ex, which is normally a good sign for a game, unless it's Invisible War, I suppose. Deus Ex The Fall. Bring us into the world of Deus Ex The Fall.
Okay, well, let me put it like this. You've played Deus Ex, right? And you've played Deus Ex Human Revolution. You know everything, that makes them good games. Yeah,
pretty much, I would say, yeah.
This is like that, but shit.
Okay, so it's a bit like Thief, actually, from where it sort of seems like they know what makes a good Thief game, but then they ballsed it all up. Do these people seem like they know what makes a good Deus Ex game, broadly?
Yeah, for the most part. Part of the problem, I think, is just the fact that this is a mobile game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. This Deus Ex The Fall was kind of teased. We heard about the trademark, and there were teaser trailers and stuff, none of which mentioned the platforms. And after we'd written about this, they went, coming to iOS!
Yeah.
And everyone went, oh. And, you know, in terms of creating a Deus Ex experience on phones and tablets and stuff, I guess it probably worked okay. It's clearly not going to be as good as Human Revolution, but, you know, it's fairly impressive they managed to get something like this on a tablet. Then they ported it to PC, where it's suddenly competing against things like Deus Ex.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it doesn't really hold up very well at all. They've got an idea of what makes a Deus Ex game a Deus Ex game. But yeah, there's just nothing, there's no spark, attention to detail, there's nothing really tying it together, and making it something special. And the port itself is utterly atrocious. There are issues with the graphics and the controls and the scripting and, yeah, basically everything. It's just a bit rubbish.
So, this is a case of... Do you think it's just a cash in then, just try and squeeze some more money out of it? And sort of trade off on the name?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that they released it on the phones, first of all, because they wanted to do something like that. For whatever reason, they decided it was a good idea to get a Deus Ex game on the phones. And you could, I guess, argue that it's a cash in, but I kind of get the feeling it's more the fact there is a Deus Ex game which we can port to PC. Let's port it to PC, because why not? Yeah. I kind of... I don't know whether I'd say that it's just a cynical cash-in to get money. I think that people probably wanted Deus Ex The Fall on PC, and are now hopefully regretting that decision.
Everyone, bear in mind, if it's a phone game first, unless it's an amazing port with a lot of changes, it's probably not going to be that great on the PC. Tell me about the shop, Tim, that you can go to at any point in the game. Do they attempt to justify this at all with anything? No?
Weirdly enough, right, there is actually a conversation. You can talk to a couple of people sort of fairly early on. You can basically say, oh, do you know where I can, you know, can you get me some weapons? Can you get me a gun or something like that? And you just find yourself thinking, why? I can just press I on my keyboard and then cycle through a list of all the guns in the game, and I can just click buy.
Is that how Amazon works in the future? Do you just kind of go into your little weird augmented store head and order up a gun instantly? Is that?
Yeah, because aren't Amazon actually working on like drone-based delivery services at the moment anyway?
Probably, because that's the kind of scary thing that they're into, yes.
So maybe they've actually just got like an orbital cannon or something like that, and they just fire the gun at you.
Yeah, pretty much. See,
that explains it. Okay, that's another 2 points that should be added to the score then, because they've explained that.
Because they didn't even bother trying to explain it. We had to do it for them. When you told me about this sort of in-game Insta shop, I was convinced it was because of microtransactions, and it was like, oh, are you stuck at this boss? Well, don't worry, here's a shop with an EMP grenade in it. But apparently it didn't have that.
I don't know. I didn't play the iOS version.
Maybe
I would assume that you could probably buy credits for real money with in-app transactions, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's credits lying around everywhere, so you can just buy stuff anyway. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you're running out of ammo for your gun, that's okay. Just pop into the shop and buy some more. It doesn't matter the fact that you're behind cover being shot at by 3 people. It's fine.
Yeah. So the whole point of Deus Ex is sort of adaptive gameplay, where you used your EMP grenade earlier on the previous bot, and now you need another one. It's like, oh shit! Now I've got to try and figure out a plan to get past this thing. Do I just try and run past, or maybe try and find a heavy weapon or something?
Yeah, do I maybe backtrack, see if I can find another way around? Do I want to avoid this by sneaking through the vents? But here, no. You can just press I and buy an EMP grenade and throw it.
That spectacularly undermines the entire premise of the gameplay. I'm amazed and impressed. Yeah. Sounds like a good game. And then you produced some spectacular screenshots from this game as well. I recommend anyone looking at the Deus Ex The Fall review, and also the Bioshock Infinite Burial at Sea review, which is up now. But that has good screenshots, whereas the Deus Ex The Fall just has amusing screenshots. There's an especially good one, Paul, of a man running that you liked.
I do like that. It's like watching a Glaswegian run across George Square really drunk. At a sort of 45-degree angle where you can't stop yourself and the arms are just flailing. Excellent.
I think you mean it's a dramatic still from an action cutscene in Deus Ex The Fall.
No, surely. It's a drunk Glaswegian.
In fairness, I'm sure that scene was much more impressive when it wasn't at 1920 by 1080 on a crystal clear screen. Probably, when it was tiny and blurred, it probably looked a lot better.
Probably did, yeah. And also the characters in this game aren't the best, are they?
What, Rubber Man? Are you talking about Rubber Plastic Face Man?
Well, I was talking about Ben Saxon, the gruff ex-SAS mercenary, but yeah, the rubber-faced man is obviously a key character in the game as well. He's a bouncer, isn't he? The rubber-faced man.
Yes, he's the bouncer. He's the bouncer to the club, and he asks if you have a pass and if you can go in. And you say, "Let me in, or I'll beat you up." And he goes, "Well, okay, I'll just give you my pass. There you go. We're cool." He's a really effective bouncer.
He seriously looks close to like characters from Zelda Majora's Mask on the N64 or something, or the GameCube. He really does. Like, I know people occasionally go like, "Oh, this game has PlayStation 2 graphics," and they're full of shit. But like, I'm right, aren't I? This character model is kind of circa 1990 something. It's quite astonishing.
Yeah, what's weird is that not all of the character models are like that. Like the ones for the main characters, like Ben Saxon, Anna Kelso, most of the tyrants, anyone who actually gets a fair bit of time, there is some work done on their character models. They don't, they don't look like a modern PC game, but they look decent. And then you've got the little side characters, like Rubber Face Man, where they just appear to be kind of flat textures on really low poly models.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, his head is like, I don't know, five polygons, maybe. 6. I'm glad you mentioned the tyrants, actually, because I enjoyed a part of your review where you were revealing Ben Saxon throwing in his mercenary lot with the tyrants. And then discovering, to his shock, that a group called the Tyrants are up to some naughty business.
Yeah. You'd think the name was a clue, but...
And then he gets apparently involved in some sort of drug conspiracy, just because he kind of feels like it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the plot basically kicks off because... him and Anna Kelso, who is not really explained in this, you have to read the book that leads into it, I guess, to
great.
Figure out who she is first.
I love having to read the amazing tie-in video game novel to understand my video game.
She's, the book came out a while before the game did, I think. It was kind of a tie-in to Human Revolution, but I don't know, I haven't read it. I tend to avoid any book that's linked to a video game.
That's good.
After reading the Baldur's Gate and Planescape Torment novelizations, which were atrocities. But yeah, basically they're in hiding from the tyrants in Costa Rica, and they're running out of kind of the anti-rejection drug. If you've played Human Revolution, then you know that kind of the mechanical augments, the body tends to reject them. You need a drug to kind of reduce the scar tissue. And
Neuropozyne, I think?
Yes.
Neuropozyne? There we go.
Remembered. But yeah, they're basically, because they're on the run, they can't just sort of wander into their local limb clinic to pick some up. So they're kind of having withdrawal symptoms, and Ben Saxon wanders just down the road from Costa Rica is Panama.
I guess.
So he just wanders down into Panama to try and find some neuropozyne, and he kind of gets involved in a couple of sort of bits and pieces to try and get a hold of some a steady supply, and he learns that there's a replacement drug called Rhizine which is being worked on and is somehow being sold by a back alley doctor illegally. And And anyway, sort of you're tasked with finding out where the Ryzine's coming from, and you find this out, and that's it. You've got your neuropazine supply, you're set for life.
Hooray.
Except that then Saxon decides that he really wants to investigate all of this a bit more, and it won't cause any problems at all. It'll definitely be fine. And inevitably sort of bumps into the tyrants, and everything goes horribly wrong. And yeah, basically just because of curiosity, he's pretty much managed to completely ruin his hiding. So that was good.
So why didn't they just put this stuff and just sell it in the shop? That'd be a lot easier. And you could just press I and then get your Ryzine.
Get your neuropathy, which sounds a bit like ricin, by the way, which probably isn't a good thing to be taking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil the plot, but you know, there's something not quite right about the Ryzine, which you know hasn't been approved yet, being sold on the streets.
That does sound a bit dodgy when you put it like that.
A little bit. That's one of the things that actually annoyed me, is that you get a decision fairly early on. You get offered Ryzine, and you can choose to accept it or not. You still need to go and find the neuropazine for Anna, because she hasn't come with you. She's sitting in Costa Rica. And you can choose whether to take the Ryzine or not, and it's kind of reminiscent of Human Revolution when you get the choice of whether you want to have the firmware upgrade or not. Except that, unlike that, this, as far as I can tell, makes absolutely zero difference.
Brilliant. So again, they've seen Deus Ex and they've gone, oh yeah, I see you have choices in this game. Okay, interesting. But they've sort of forgotten that that's supposed to lead to something rather than just.
In fairness, maybe it does lead to something in the second part, because this ends with to be continued after resolving their plot points.
No.
Oh, man. Are they making The Fall 2?
I don't know. I kind of hope that the project's been canned, but if nothing else, I really hope that it's kind of like a free update, and it's not something you have to buy separately.
Oh, Tim, how naive you are.
Mobile phone games, man, come on. Did you not see the GDC conference list that had about 15 different talks about monetizing your whales in the new social viral workspace? It's like, oh, fuck you. Just fuck you so much, you twats. Anyone attending those conferences needs to die. Anyone doing those conferences needs to die. There we go.
It kind of reminds you of Bill Hicks with his tirade against marketing people.
I find it astonishing, right, that whale is a term from Las Vegas, from gambling, right, which even in Las Vegas they won't use openly because it's so disparaging and offensive to their customers that they know it's stupid. But the video game industry is so contemptuous of its audience that it doesn't give a shit, saying we are trying to milk you for every last cent, which is pretty disgusting, actually, but for some reason nobody seems to really mind, except a few of people like us. So, there we go.
Well, there you have it. So yeah, in conclusion, Deus Ex: The Fall
is rubbish.
7 out of 10.
So I've seen some 7 out of 10 scores for Deus Ex: The Fall.
Oh, you're joking.
No, I have, seriously. And even but it's the same old shit. They're making similar complaints to you, Tim. Like throughout, I mean, you were reading one yesterday and like showing me bits of it. Pretty similar complaints.
Yeah, it's buggy. It looks awful. The maps are tiny. There's no choice. The controls barely work. 7 out of 10.
It's like, what are you doing, man? Is that how bad does a game have to get before you will give it even a 5 or less than a 5?
Yep.
I don't know. It's crazy. It is crazy.
So yeah, it's horrible. Don't play it. Just go and buy the director's cut of Human Revolution instead. Because if you've already got Human Revolution, I think that'll only cost you like a $5 or something like that. And you know that's really good. If you haven't got Human Revolution, buy that and play that. It's really good. Just
and really cheap.
Yes, probably cheaper than this.
Yeah, it will be actually if you catch it on the right weekend. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so reviews of 2 out of 3 of those things are up on the IncGamers site. Reaper of Souls coverage will be all over Diablo IncGamers, I am quite sure.
Yeah, there's a strategy guide. If you haven't started playing it yet, you're about to start playing it, go and read the guide on there, because it will really help you, actually. It's on the front of IncGamers as well.
That's how you got through so quickly, isn't it, Paul? You read that guide, and then you're like, I'm set now.
No, I'm just such a pro anyway.
It's just, okay. Hardcore Diablo. That would be playing it on Inferno, surely.
No.
Yep, reviews, all that stuff is up. I don't know what other things are up on the site. Help me, guys.
We've got the free-to-play review thingy.
Yes.
That went up. Let me think. The Deus Ex 4 review was yesterday. Today was your Bioshock Infinite review.
Finally got Nosgoth preview up, and there's a plays as well.
Yes, Nosgoth. That's right. Yeah, all of that stuff. So keep an eye on the site for more amazing things like that.
What's coming up? Does anyone get any idea what's coming up? Because I have no idea.
I think we also have the Luftrausers review.
Luftrausers. Luftrausers.
I don't know why I do this when I start talking.
Mein Handy.
I do love
Germans. I really don't know why I do that. I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness me. Terribly offensive.
Probably. I will probably be writing something about Smite at some point soon, which is Hi-Res Studios, the guys who did Tribes Ascend. It's that kind of third-person shooter MOBA thing, and it's actually really good. Surprisingly, I'm really enjoying myself.
Interesting, actually. I have played Smite a little bit, but it was a long time ago. It seems to have beta testing forever. So I'll be interested to see what you think.
Yep, that's just being released today when we're recording the podcast. It'll be yesterday by the time you're listening to it. And yeah, I'm not planning on writing a review of it because it's got sufficient MOBA stuff that frankly I won't feel comfortable until I've played about 400, 500 hours to actually judge it. But I can say that I am enjoying myself and I will write something about it this week. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Peter, what are you working on?
I'm reviewing Cloud Built, which is a parkour-y third-person platforming time attack type game, which I'm playing kind of slowly because it's really hard. It's really difficult. But yeah, I'm reviewing that. It's quite good though. What else?
Wasn't that the game that you said it was really, really difficult to play when you were tired? And
yeah.
While you're tired.
I'm now tired constantly because, whatever. I've done my little cat story. I'm not going to go into that again.
Are we expecting, I guess we'll probably have something about Age of Wonders 3 at some point before too long?
Yeah, maybe. I haven't been playing that. But...
Yeah, you're supposed to be playing it. Poor old David's waiting for you.
I know I was supposed to be playing that, but then my cat had surgery and my spare time vanished.
Yeah, that's kind of ruined you for the next.
Yeah, I think the embargo for that actually is tomorrow or something.
It's like tomorrow. Yeah, I know.
But we'll get it done. Actually, David's going to help with that. But David's also off to Prague, I think, or somewhere like that. Next week he's off to see Neocore.
Hungary. Prague's not in Hungary.
Oh, wherever it is, he's off to somewhere. He's off to somewhere there.
I'm trying to think of my Hungarian football teams. I don't know.
But anyway, he's off to see Neocore and Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing 2 for a few days. So he'll be reporting back with bits and pieces on that, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah, great. All of that then coming up on the lovely and magnificent IncGamers.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, etc. Keep listening to our podcast because it's really good. We'll have another one next week. Goodbye.
Bye.